All right, welcome to week 4 here at Ashford University in English 125. Our week 4 assignments are, as usual, 2 discussion posts. The first discussion post, you're supposed to read a play called Riders to the Sea, and you're supposed to discuss what elements and qualities make this drama unique as a literary form. Also, make sure that whatever ideas you have, you support them with textual evidence from Synge's play. Now, you'll also need to take into consideration how the literary themes of Riders to the Sea relate to the dramatic form. As always, your initial posts have to be at least 200 words, and responses to your classmates also have to be 125 words at the minimum. Make sure that you provide detailed responses. It's not enough just to say good post or good work or best of luck on your future endeavors. On to discussion post number 2 in week 4. Once again, you're reading some more drama. This time you're reading a play by Shakespeare. Now, one of the things that they want you to look at in this play is, do you agree or disagree that the play talks a lot about humanity or about the human experience? And what, if anything, does the work suggest about human beings or society? And as always, you need to support your views with textual details and analysis. In your response, you're going to want to talk about how Macbeth's subject matter, themes, form, or other literary elements may or may not be characteristic of tragedy, and how do tragic elements or tragic qualities of the play contribute or not to the story's larger message. Initial posts have to be a minimum of 200 words, and responses to your classmates also be a minimum of 125 words. Make sure that you provide detailed responses to your classmates. One of the purposes of this course is to practice our writing. Grammar and spelling count, so treat these discussion posts as if they were emails that you were sending to your supervisor at a Fortune 500 company. Alright, finally in week 4, there's another paper that you're going to need to write, and this is going to be a response to one of the week's assigned readings. And you're going to need to identify at least 3 elements in this work, in the work that you choose, that you found interesting or engaging. Was it the form? Was it the language? Was it the content of the piece? Was it some other literary element? Notice that you're having to discuss at least 3 elements in the poem. So each one of these elements is going to be a paragraph in your paper. Then you'll assess how these elements affected your response to the poem in its entirety. Did these elements affect your opinions on or reaction to the content of this work? And did they cause you to focus on one aspect of the work more than other aspects of the work? The paper has to be a minimum of two double-spaced pages in length, and that doesn't include the title and reference page. Page 1 will be the title page. Pages 2 and 3 will be, at the minimum, will be an analysis of the work that you've chosen, and then the last page will be the reference page. But really, once again, as I've said before, if you're only turning in the bare minimum, probably the best that you can expect on the paper is a C. This just really isn't enough, especially if you're having to analyze something like Shakespeare's Macbeth. Also, whatever you do in the paper, you need to support your comments with textual details. So this means parts of the text of the work that you are analyzing, and also you need to have at least 2 scholarly sources on your references page. And really, that's just not very much. I mean, that's the bare minimum. Two sources don't make a research paper. As noted above, the title page has to be separate from everything else. The references page has to be separate from all of the other text. So title page is 1, reference page will be the last page, and then you'll have the analysis in between those 2 pages. Anything that you take from someone else's brain has to be properly cited, both inside the text of your paper and on the reference page. If you don't tell us where you get information, you've taken it from someone else's brain, and you don't properly cite it, that's plagiarism, which is a fancy word for cheating, and this is expressly forbidden by Ashford University. Make sure that you cite your references properly. An in-text citation within the text, and then a full bibliographical entry on the reference page. As with all papers that you write, they need to contain an introductory paragraph with a thesis statement. That thesis statement is going to tell us not only the work that you're going to analyze, but also the thesis statement is going to mention the 3 elements in the work that you found interesting or engaging. And then finally, the thesis statement will tell us what conclusion you're going to reach as a result of that analysis. So the first paragraph of the paper has to be an introductory paragraph, and the last sentence of that paragraph should contain the thesis statement. After we read the introductory paragraph, it should be clear what play or what work you're discussing, the 3 major areas that you're going to talk about with respect to that play, and then the conclusion or conclusions that you're going to reach as a result of that discussion. After the introductory paragraph, which should be about 125, maybe 150 words, then you'll have supporting paragraphs. This will be where you discuss what you've told us you're going to discuss in the introductory paragraph. And then the final paragraph of the paper will be a concluding paragraph. There you're going to summarize the entire paper and provide the reader with food for thought. Also, as noted above, you have to provide at least 2 pages of analysis, and really that's just not enough. You can't expect more than a C if all you're providing is 2 pages worth of analysis. You're going to have at least 2 scholarly sources. Note the word scholarly. Wikipedia is not permitted. SparksNotes, CliffNotes, Shmoop, any of those sorts of things, those are not scholarly sources. Use the Ashford Online Library to search for your scholarly sources. There's been a ton of things written on Shakespeare's Macbeth, some of the other works that you've read this week. There are plenty of things, plenty of scholarly works in the Ashford Online Library. And as noted above, inside the text of your paper, you have to mention your sources in the text, and then on the references page, we need a full bibliographical entry. The Ashford Writing Center has tons of examples of sample papers and other helpful material that can help you with formatting in-text citations and the references page. Also, make sure that you're aware of what it is that you're being graded on. Look at that grading rubric. This paper is 10% of your grade. 30% of this particular paper is going to be on your discussion of the 3 literary elements in the work that you're discussing. So 30% of the paper deals with that. 50% of the paper deals with the effects of the literary elements. So you're going to have to analyze these literary elements that you've identified. This is half the paper. You better make sure that you do a really careful job on this. Otherwise, the grade is going to be not a happy one. And then the rest of the paper has to do with analysis. This is basically talking about whether you can draw insights within and across texts and disciplines. Also, written communication factors in. Are you writing in a way that's appropriate for an academic paper? Are you writing in a way that's appropriate for an English paper? Also be graded on critical thinking, whether your conclusions are logical, and whether your conclusions are a result of informed evaluation. You'll be graded on grammar and spelling. You'll be graded on APA formatting, and you'll also be graded on page requirement and resource requirement. So go over this grading rubric carefully, and note especially that half the grade on this paper is whether you are offering an intricate assessment of the identified literary elements, and that you're skillfully drawing clear and strong connections between these elements in your own personal response to the poem. So make sure that you take very good care to craft this part of your paper as carefully as you possibly can. This is half the paper right here on this part of the grading route. And another 30% is whether you're clearly and accurately identifying the 3 literary elements. So please read these directions carefully. The main reason that you all are missing points on these papers is because you're not following the directions, or you're not reading the directions carefully. You have to pay attention to details. You have to follow direction. Employers want employees who can pay attention to detail and follow direction. Please, please, please read the directions carefully. Follow those directions to the letter. Thanks, and good luck on this paper.